So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I make the market/grocery reusable bag. This bag is really easy to make, and honestly, it has so much stretch to it. You can fit so much in it. As you can see from this picture of my husband holding them full of groceries, they really have a lot of give to them. We probably saved over 20 plastic bags from that shopping trip. So definitely give this market bag a try, and I hope you enjoy making it. So for this project, I'm going to be using the sugar and cream yarn in the color of jute. It is a 4-weighted yarn. What you'll need for this project is a crochet hook that is a 5.50 millimeter, as well as scissors, a sewing needle, some stitch markers, I use bobby pins, and some glue. Whatever glue you like. I do like using liquid stitch. I find it works really well. Okay, so we're gonna start with our magic loop, and make sure that you leave a good tail to be able to sew in at the end. So do your magic loop, and I know that there are better tutorials on how to do the magic loop. So you're going to chain 2. Now this is not going to count as your first stitch. You are going to yarn over and double crochet. And if you want to go ahead and put your stitch marker in the top of that stitch, go ahead, because that's where you're going to come around and join. So now do 11 more double crochet for a total of 12. Okay, so when you have your 12, go ahead and tighten that. And join in the top of that first stitch. Hold tight, and now chain 2. Again, this is not counting as a stitch. So yarn over, and you're going to, this is going to be an increase round. So you're going to do 2 double crochet into that very first stitch that is our join stitch. And now the next stitch, 2. Oh, also, if you want to go ahead and put a stitch marker in the top of that very first stitch so that you know when we come around, that's where we're joining. And just go ahead and put 2 double crochet into every stitch going around. Okay, now that we have round 2 done, we're going to start round 3. And again, you're going to chain 2. You're going to do this for every double crochet round that we're doing. And what that's going to do is give a really nice, clean look. So you're not going to have your chain 3 gaps or anything. So for the next round, this is another increase round. We are going to be doing 7 increase rounds. So if you already know how to do increase rounds, you can go ahead and pause this video and work up to 7 increases and then meet me back. If you don't know how to do increase rounds, follow along and I will show you. We're going to put 1 double crochet into that very first stitch, and this next stitch is going to be our increase. So put 2 double crochets. So again, 1, next stitch, increase, 2, 3. You're going to do that all the way around. 1, increase, 2, 3 into the next. So go ahead and do that all the way around to the end, and you should end on an increase stitch. So this very last stitch should have 2 double crochets in it. and I'll meet you back around. So now that we're done with round 3, we're starting round 4. You chain 2. In that very first stitch, you're going to do 1 double crochet. In the next stitch, 1 double crochet. In this next stitch is our increase, so you put 2 double crochet. So again, next stitch 1, next stitch 2, next stitch 3, 4. So next stitch 1, next stitch 2, next stitch increase 3, 4. So that's how you do a 4th round increase. So continue to do that all the way around, and again, last stitch should have 2 double crochet. Okay, now for round 5, chain 2, in that very first stitch, do your double crochet. There's 1, your next stitch, double crochet, 2, your next stitch, double crochet, 3, next stitch, increase, 4, 5. So 1, next stitch 2, next stitch 3, next stitch, increase, 4, 5. So continue all the way around, and as always, ending with your increase stitch in the last stitch. So I'll meet you back. Now that we're done with round 5, we're moving on to round 6. So chain 2. In that very first stitch, do your double crochet. That's 1. Next stitch, 2. Next stitch, 3. Next stitch 4. Now your next stitch is your increase, 5, 6. So you're putting 2 into that next stitch. So again, next stitch 1, next stitch 2, next stitch 3, next stitch 4, next stitch increase, 5, 6. So continue that all the way around, and again, as always, last stitch is your increase stitch. So I'll meet you back. Okay, so now we're done with round 6 and starting round 7. So your chain 2, in that very first stitch, do your double crochet. That's 1, your next stitch, 2, next stitch 3, next stitch 4, next stitch 5, and your next stitch is your increase, 6, 7. Okay, next stitch 1, next stitch 2, next stitch 3, next stitch 4, next stitch 5, next stitch your increase 6, 7. So continue that all the way around, and again your very last stitch will be your increase, so you should have 2 double crochets in there. I'll meet you back around. Okay, so now that we are done with round 7, that is our last increase round. So we are going to do one more double crochet round, but there are no increases. So chain 2, that very first stitch, double crochet, and double crochet into each stitch all the way around, and that will give you a total of 8 rounds. And then we will start the spaced rounds. So now that we're done with our last round, you should have 8 total rounds, with this last one not being an increase. And you should have 84 stitches in total. So for the next round, we're going to be doing the spaces. So you're going to start with a chain 3. And you're going to chain 1 more for a total of 4 chains. Now you're not going to go into the very first stitch like we have been. You're going to skip that, and you're also going to skip the stitch next to it. And you're going to double crochet into this third one. Now chain 2. Skip the next stitch and go in to the one next to it. Double crochet. Chain 2, skip, double crochet into the next. So you're going to do that all the way around. Chain 2, skip, double crochet into the next. So do that all the way around, and your last stitch you're going to skip and then join into the third stitch, third chain stitch. Okay, so now that we're at the end, we have our chain 2 and we're skipping that last stitch, and we're going to join in the third chain. So that's your first space round. Now you should have 42 spaces total. So the next round is our increase round. So I want to make a note that when we chain our 3, this previous round and this round, we're only adding 1 chain to make a chain 4. When we get up to the next rounds, we will be doing chain 3 plus chain 2. The only reason we're doing a chain 1 at this point is because the gap, the space here, the first space, would just be too big. I don't like the look of it. So that's why we are only doing a chain 1 rather than a chain 2 like these. So for this first space, we have our chain 3 and we added 1 chain. Now we're going to double crochet into that first space. Chain 2, double crochet into that next space. Chain 2, and just continue to repeat that all the way around, and I will meet you at the end. Okay, so now that we are at the end, we have 1 space left. This is where our increase is going to be. By going into this last space, you are making an increase. So we have our chain 2, double crochet into that last space, chain 2, and join into that third chain. Okay, so now for this next round, we're going to chain 3, and we're going to chain 2 more for a total of 5. Double crochet into that first space, chain 2, go into the next. And so this round is not going to be an increase. So I'll meet you back around to show you how to end it, but we won't be going into this last space. So I will meet you back around. So we're at the end of this round. We have our chain 2. We're skipping that last space, and we're going to join in the third chain. Chain 3, then chain 2 for a total of 5 chains. Now you're going to double crochet in that first space, chain 2, double crochet. So this is going to be now an increase round. So when you come back around, previous row we skipped that space, we're going to go in to this space. So this will be our increase. So when you get to the end, I'll meet you and we'll finish up this round. Okay, so we are at the end of this round and we have our chain 2. So we are going into that last space, making this an increase round. Chain 2 and join into that third stitch. So here's how the rest is going to work. This next round is not an increase round, so you won't be going in to that last stitch. You're going to do just as we did for the previous round, where we chain 2, skip this last space, and then join in the chain 3. The next round will be an increase round. So you're just going to alternate every other round as an increase round until you reach 12 total rounds. And that last round, the 12th round, should be an increase round. So continue on doing that, and I will meet you at the end of the 12th round to continue on. Okay, so we just finished our 12th round, which was an increase round, and we should have 48 spaces. So for this next section, these are going to be our single crochet rounds. You're going to do 2 single crochets in every space. So we're not going to chain 1. We're just going to go right into there, yarn over, pull up, and pull through 2 loops. Now if you want to use a stitch marker so that you can remember this is where you're going to come back around and join, then go ahead and do that, because you might get a little mixed up when you get to the end there. So we have our first single crochet and then another single crochet. In the next space, 2 single crochets. In the next space, 2 single crochets. So you're going to do that all the way around to the last space, putting 2 single crochets in and then join. Okay, so now that we've finished our first single crochet round, we've joined into that very first stitch. You should have 96 single crochet all the way around. So you'll want to count that and make sure. For this next round, it's just going to be another single crochet round. So we're not going to chain. We're just going to go right into that very first stitch, pull up, and that counts as our first single crochet. Single crochet. If you want to put your stitch marker in there to keep track, go ahead, and you're just going to go into every single crochet stitch all the way around, and then join, and I will meet you for the next round, which is a decrease round. Okay, so now we're ready for our next round, which is our decrease round. So what you're going to do is, again, we're not chaining, we're just going to go into that very first stitch that we joined in and do your single crochet. Now you're going to do 5 more single crochets for a total of 6. All right, now you're going to do your decrease, where you put your hook through that next stitch, yarn over and pull up, and you have 2 loops on your hook. Then put your hook through the next stitch, yarn over and pull up, you have 3 loops. Turn your hook, take that 3rd loop, and pull through the 2. So there's your first decrease stitch. Now 6 single crochet. And another decrease. So hook through, yarn over, pull up, hook through the next, yarn over, pull up, turn your hook, pull through 2. And now do 6 more single crochet. And so you're going to do 6 single crochet, your decrease, 6 single crochet, a decrease. You're going to repeat that all the way around to the end, where you should have 2 stitches left, which will be for your decrease. And you should have a total of 12 decreases. So I will meet you back around. Okay, now that we're done with the decrease round, you should have 84 stitches. So if you want to go and count and make sure that you have the right stitch count, because it will be important for when we do our handles. So this next round is just going to be a simple single crochet. So put your hook right into that first stitch that you joined in, do your single crochet, and single crochet all the way around to the end and join, and the next round will be the start of our handles. So I'll meet you back around. Okay, now that we're done with that round, we are moving on to the round where we start to shape the handle out. So this is where you're going to need some stitch markers, whatever you use. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our first single crochet again in that joined stitch, go in, first single crochet. Now do 9 more for a total of 10. So you should have 10. Okay, now you're going to count 22 stitches. So the very next stitch from our last single crochet, so that very next stitch is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So in that stitch, stitch 22, put your marker. Because now we're going to chain 50 for the handle, which honestly, you can really chain as much as you want for the handle. If you want a longer handle or even a shorter one, I do 50 chains. And then you are going to join that, not where your stitch marker is, but the stitch next to it, after it. So go ahead and chain your 50 or however many you're doing, and I will show you how to join it. Okay, so now that you have your chain, you're going to go into that stitch next to your marker, and you're just going to put your hook in. And you don't want to pull too tightly because you're still going to want to go into this final chain stitch when we go back around for our next round. If you want to put a stitch marker into that so it's easier to find, because it will get a little tightened, so you might miss it on your way back through. So go ahead and put the stitch marker there. But so you have your hook through that stitch, yarn over, pull up. Now you have 2 loops, yarn over, and pull that through both loops. That is your first single crochet. Now do 19 more for a total of 20, and I will meet you back. Okay, so now that you have your 20 single crochet, again, you're going to count 22 stitches out. So that next stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And so again, you're going to do the same thing that you did with this handle. Stitch your, or chain your 50 or however many you're doing, and then join the same way, which I can show you again right here. And you should have a total of 10 stitches left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, so that 10 joined with the first 10 that we did will make the 20. So go ahead and chain your 50, and I'll show you how to join it again. Okay, so now that you have your chain stitches, you're going to join, remember, in that stitch right after your chain or your marker. So put your hook through and just lightly, don't pull it snug, yarn over, pull through. You have 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. And that counts as 1, and then you'll single crochet into the remaining stitches, which should total as 10, and when you join, it will be a total of 20. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back to show you how to do the next round. Okay, so for this next round, we're going to work the single crochet into that very first stitch that we joined in. And now each remaining single crochet, which should be 10. And you'll get to this last one right here before the chain starts. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to be going into the back of these chains. So you have the top. We're going to be going into the back loops, the little bumps on the back. So that very first chain right after your single crochet, that back loop we're going to be going into. So you'll have to kind of pick it up a little bit like awkwardly with your hook. get into it and then single crochet. And once you kind of get into that first chain, it'll kind of flip the rest of the chain over and it'll be easier to kind of get through. So you're just going to single crochet into every chain. And I'll meet you at the end to show you how to do the end of this arm strap. Okay, so we're right to the last stitch here, and it might be a little tight. You should be able to see that there, if you turn it this way, you'll be able to see you do still have one chain left to go into. So you'll kind of look for that back bump and do your last single crochet. And now you're going to go into that first stitch, that first single crochet stitch from the previous row. And so that's going to count as 1. And now continue on to the last single crochet for a total of 20. And then you're going to do the arm the same way you did this one, going into that back loop of that chain stitch all the way around, making sure you go into the last back loop of it. And if you want to keep a stitch marker in there so you know, then go ahead and do that. And then go into that very first single crochet, continue on until you join. So you should have a total of 20 also on this side. So when you're done with that and you join, I'll meet you back to show you how to do the very last round. Okay, so now that we are done with that round, we are ready for the last round, which is going to be slip stitches. So go ahead and go into that very first stitch, pull up, leave it a little bit loose, and pull through. Go into the next, and slip stitch to the next. So you're going to do this all the way around. And what this really does is just kind of gives the bag a nice finishing border. So go ahead and do that all the way around and then join, and that will be the end of the bag. So if you want to stick around, I'll show you how I sew in my ends. And you will want to make sure that with the bottom end that you go through at least once more or twice. You want this to be kind of secured because it's the base of the bag, so it's going to take a lot of weight on it depending on what you're putting in it. And then you'll want to glue it. So if you want to stick around and I'll show you how I sew in my ends, go ahead. If not, I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and go ahead and give it a like and share it, and thank you for watching. Okay, so for sewing your ends in, go ahead and get your hook or your needle and pull snug, and then just go through and just want to go ahead and do that, wrap it around once or twice, and then glue and cut it. And as for these, so what I like to do is grab one end and just kind of look around and maybe go right through here, and then kind of through here. So you're just kind of working your way a little bit through these, kind of hiding that, and it just kind of blends in with the stitch itself. And then I get to a place where you can then put some glue in it and cut the string. And then do the same for that one. And then as for the end stitch, okay, I bring it down through there. And I find that single crochet row on the inside of the bag, and I just go through. Good several of them. Pull, and then go ahead and glue and cut the string, and that's how I sew my ends in. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial.